Hello everyone, welcome back to the lace skirt tutorial. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, we are sewing Simplicity S8982. We're doing a hack to it. We're adding a lace overlay to the lining. So for those of you who are not familiar with how to do this, I'm just going to quickly walk you through what you need to do to attach your lace overlay to your lining. So just like with the skirt that I did a tutorial on for views D and E, you're going to follow the same steps. It's just you're going to double that. And then you're going to do something quite differently for the casing as well. So I'll tell you what you need to do for the casing to make it work, and so that your elastic is not peeking through, and also so that you're not worrying about whether or not your elastic will or whether or not your lace will break down over time and expose your elastic. So without further ado, let me go ahead and get into what you need. So you definitely are going to need your lace overlay. So make sure you cut out the skirt front and the skirt back. Go ahead and put in all your notches or your marks. I like to use, I like to mark my fabric instead of putting notches in it, especially when I'm working with lace, because I don't want it to rip or extend down into past the seam allowance. So make sure you have your front skirt, your back skirt, both cut out on fold, and you're going to also make sure that you put your darts in as well. So as you can see, I pinned my darts, but I did not sew them yet. Make sure that you cut out your lining. You're going to have a front and a back for the lining as well. And you're also going to make sure that you put your darts into the skirt back lining as well. You're going to cut out 2 pieces for your casing for the lace overlay, and 2 pieces for your the casing for the lining. Okay, now this is where it gets different. Instead of sewing these individually like you're going to sew the skirt, and I'll talk to you about that in a moment, you're going to take your lace overlay and with wrong sides facing, you're going to go ahead and attach it to the lining just like this. You're going to go ahead and stitch it up at the top, the bottom, and the sides. I'll make that more clear later on in a part of the video. Okay, so before we do anything, we want to create a cutting line for our lining, okay? And that's because we don't want our lining to peek through the overlay. So we need to make sure that the lining is a few inches, or at least 1.5 inches shorter than our skirt, okay? But before I tell you how I did that, I'm going to go ahead and explain to you what all these lines are on my pattern so you're not confused. So this is the original line for cutting line E, and I wanted my skirt to be a little longer, but I didn't want it to be as long as view D. So I wanted it to be between view D and view E. So as you can see here, I added about 3 inches of length here for my cutting line for view E. So my new cutting line for view E is right here. So it's been extended. Okay, so that's the first thing that I did. So the second thing that I did, I wanted to have a cutting line for the lining, as I previously discussed. So I want my lining to fall in between my old cutting line and my new cutting line, because that's about where my lining should be sitting at, okay? So you don't want it too long and you don't want it too short. So 1.5 inches would be perfect. So that's half the distance between these 2 points. So basically all I did I took my ruler and I measured 1.5 inches from this line, from the old cutting line. And as you can see, that's 1.5 inches from the new cutting line. And I placed a mark there. And then I went on over to the opposite side of the paper. And I placed a mark there as well. And then I joined those 2 points, making a line across the pattern here, just like that. And that's my cutting line for my lining. And then I'm going to go ahead and mark it. So that's my cutting line for my lining. So now when I go and cut out my front piece for my overlay, I'm going to cut out my front piece for my overlay on this line, and then I will fold this line back just like this. And now I'm going to cut my lining out on this line, so my lining will be shorter. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get to work on that, and make sure that you do this for the back of your pattern as well. At this point, you want to make sure that you press all your pieces. So you have your lace overlay completed. So you have the front and the back stitched together, and you have the darts in. You have the same thing going on with the lining. So you have the front and the back stitched together, and you have your darts in. So here's your darts here. You want to make sure you go ahead and press your fabric pieces open. And as I said before, make sure that you leave that opening here so that you can feed your elastic through. Now with the elastic band, once you have everything all sewn together, you're going to go ahead and fold that in half. Just like this. Okay. Now the instructions say to baste that together, but I mean, you can if you want to, but I find that just giving it a good press, just lining it all up and pressing it down will help it hold the place until I can put it on to the garment. So here's where it's going to be a little bit different than working without an overlay. So you're going to go ahead and take your lining, and with wrong sides facing, okay? So I find it easy to do this when I have my lining with the wrong side out and my overlay with the right side facing out, okay? So you're just going to take this lining and you're going to go ahead and stick it inside the shell of the overlay. So just stick it right on in the shell of the garments, and make sure that you have the back match with the back and the front match with the front. So these are the darts for the back of the overlay, and here are the darts for the back lining. So just make sure that the back is with the back and the front with the front. So you want to go ahead and match the side seams first, and then after you match the side seams, you're just going to go ahead and match your notches. Okay, so you match your notches, your side seams.